Good afternoon and welcome to The Common Man. My name is Skip Bessie, and I'm really not ready to start this channel. I just thought that I needed to get it up and running. I did start a YouTube channel probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, during the pandemic, and basically just set it up as a hobby. And I did a couple videos. One video I was really proud of. I did a lot of research on it called, it was based on The Greatest Generation, which talked a lot about the generation known as the Greatest Generation, the generation that went through the Great Depression in the 1920s and really came out of it on the other side, being looked at as a generation that had a lot of resilience, that dealt with a lot and was able to overcome a lot of adversity. And it was, if you get an opportunity, check it out. I'll be reposting that at some point in time. But since then, I've been I still wanted to do it. I really thought of it as a hobby that I could really get into. I enjoy history. I enjoy research. And so I thought, what better of an opportunity to start the YouTube channel back up with what's going on in the news today. Again, not quite ready. Since I stopped doing the videos, I did a lot of research. I got a lot better equipment. I went out and purchased some nice equipment. I bought a really nice camera. I got a new microphone, obviously, which makes a ton of difference as far as the audio goes, because I'm also going to be adding the audio to a podcast called The Common Man. And if you ever have any questions or about what equipment I use, or you have any ideas about upcoming episodes, you can pop me an email at thecommonman1776@gmail.com. thecommonman1776@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I also am looking for a guest host, somebody that and I put some feelers out there, and if it's something you might be interested in, pop me an email. Pop me a message on Facebook, and we can talk. I have a couple of friends that I put the feelers out to, and hopefully they get back to me. But I'm looking at taking this to the next level. I'm looking at, it's not all going to be politics, but a lot of it will have to do with politics. It'll be the headlines, and that could go from weather to sports, which is a big part of my life, to local news here in the great state of Maine and New England, and also covering national news and world news. It's just going to be covering headlines, basically. I'm also going to get out of the studio and get outside. I'm looking at doing interviews with different people, with coaches, with politicians and whatnot. But I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. I am going to put some time and effort into it, which I already have. You can ask my wife. And but I really wanted to get a video out to talk about the current state affairs with what's going on in Europe, and basically Russia acting like a bully, picking on the Ukraine. A lot of you have heard about it, obviously, and the Ukraine is putting up one heck of a fight. It's an amazing story. There's a lot of heroes that are coming out of that situation right now. The biggest is their president, Zelensky, I believe his name is, and he's sticking it out with his people, and there's something to be said about that. He has rallied his troops, if you will, and they are giving Russia everything that they can to keep them out of the capital and keep them out of their country, and it's just an amazing story. A few days ago, by air, land, and sea, Russia launched what they thought was going to be a devastating attack on the Ukraine. When we think of Russia, we think of this superpower, this major world dominating force, and they're really struggling. I think they just underestimated or overextended themselves, and I think that President Putin is starting to realize that. Just today, he put the nuclear option out there, which is a very scary. I just think that he's kind of backpedaling now. The sanctions, I think, will start kicking in, and that will cause him even more. But I think you'll hopefully see a peaceful resolution to all this fairly quickly. So months prior to this, Putin denied that he would attack his neighbor. He told Germany, he told Poland, he told the United States it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. It was just maneuvers that they were going on. But then we could see over time that these stockpiling of military personnel and equipment on the borders of Ukraine was growing, and even in the country of Belarus, Russia came into the country of Belarus on the northern border, and was actually stockpiling troops on their border also. So that's kind of what led up to it. And then a few days ago, Russia started to attack airports, military headquarters. Those are the first, with any kind of military operation, those are going to be the first potential targets that they're going to hit. They're going to want to take over airports or destroy airports, so the country that they're attacking's air force can't be used against them. Even though I think they wanted to capture and hold that airport, which, as far as I know, they have not captured yet. And there were cities all across the country. It wasn't just one or two locations. It was all across the country, north, south, east, really not west, because that's Poland and all kinds of other countries that are in that area that obviously he weren't going to allow him to go through that. That would have been a whole nother issue we were talking about right now if that was to happen. One of the bigger cities that was attacked was Kharkiv, which is in the northeast, and that's a city over 1.4 billion people. 1.4 million people. And when you start talking about cities that are in the millions, it's something that we're not used to hearing about. Over the past 15 or so years, we've heard of conflicts in the Middle East, and they're usually small conflicts, not in this size and in this manner. This is an unprovoked attack. Let's keep that in mind, that Ukraine didn't do anything to provoke Russia to do this. If you're a normal person looking at it from the outside, Ukraine didn't do anything wrong. So that's something we'll get back to in a minute. Moments before Russia attacked, Putin went on the news to try to justify it with his own people. He talked about, I think, why it needed to be done, that he was accusing the Ukraine of being taken over by extremists, that they were pro-Nazi, and that there were a lot of drugs involved, and it just wasn't safe. In reality, Ukraine was doing very well. Ukraine broke from Russia, in the early 1990s, and it's taken them a while to get where they are now, or where they were before this attack. And this has changed the whole complexity of Russia. They will never, in my opinion, ever be looked at the same on the world stage, ever. How could they? I think it really puts a lot of questions in where's Putin going to go from here? Where can he go from here? How much is the people of Russia going to take? How much is his administration going to take? I mean, you got to understand how the world is now looking at you. All eyes are on Russia and their leadership, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was just taken out of power. But a lot of people are like, and somebody posted on my Facebook. I'm a big Facebook guy, and I get a lot of information from Facebook. I keep in contact with friends and social media. But he posted something that was a perfect analogy of what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine. And I'm going to read it to you. And if you've heard it before, just bear with me. But this is breaking it down. Ukraine used to be in an abusive relationship with Russia, feeding him, letting him use her car, and giving him whatever he asked for until she built up the confidence to call it quits back in 1991. Since then, I lost my spot. Since then, Ukraine has been working on herself, becoming a stronger, independent woman with help from friends like France, America, Poland, etc., offering her support, loaning her money, and helping her find her way. Ukraine has been enjoying being single for 30 years and looking forward to continuing to grow and create new friendships. Now Russia, being the toxic ex that it is, wants her back and doesn't want her meeting new people or creating any new relationships. A couple of weeks ago, Russia started sitting in the front of Ukraine's house. And when her friends asked him what he was doing there, he said, "Oh, nothing, just getting a little bit of exercise. That's all." After her friends told her that Russia was potentially getting ready to do something bad to her, he said, "They're lying. They just want you to be scared of me, and that's not what this is at all." A few days ago, Russia broke into Ukraine's house, beating her up and taking advantage of her while on live stream and double dog daring any of her friends to do something about it. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. What Russia overlooked was how strong Ukraine really is, how much resolve and resilience the Ukraine really has, and how charismatic and I look at the president of Ukraine as just a really good football coach. He's fired his troops up, he's fired his people up, and they are sticking with him. Yes, women and children are leaving the country, moving to the West, and there are so many great organizations that are meeting them there. I saw the Graham's Samaritan's Purse is over there, helping refugees come across. They're deploying hospitals over there. All kinds of aid is happening, and it's amazing again when this world has to come together, how awesome of a sight that it really, really is. It's unfortunate that it's this type of situation. I think back to 9/11 and how 9/11 unified the United States, and now I can see it happening now on a world stage where you have a situation like this, a horrible situation that is uniting everybody. Unfortunately, once this hopefully ends in a peaceful way, we can all stay the course with that. But as we've seen since 9/11, as a country here, we're fractured in so many different, and we have so many dividers that are just driven so deep into the ground. And it's sad to say that, but hopefully after this is done, we can learn from it and become stronger and better afterwards. Some other things that I want to talk about real quick is how far will Russia go? If you would have asked me this a couple days ago when it first happened, I think I would have been, I don't know. I think a lot of countries were a little scared. Poland, and some of the other countries that are on the western border were a little bit concerned. Where's Russia going to stop? And I think the world was concerned. We see UN members of the UN, Germany, the U.S., Great Britain, and other allies that are part of NATO. They're putting troops on those western borders. They're putting troops there. They're not sending any troops in, but they're putting troops on the western border. I think they're doing everything but putting people in. In fact, what can the West do? NATO has put warplanes on alert, but the Western Alliance has made clear that there's no plans to send combat troops into the Ukraine, which bothers me a little bit. And we'd be having a totally different conversation if the Ukraine was part of NATO, which I think they were trying to do, and is another big reason why Putin pulled the trigger and said, let's do it, because I think he was afraid that if the Ukraine became part of NATO, then we'd be having a totally different discussion right now. But I think I'm not so versed in the rules and regulations and whatnot. But I can tell you that if a NATO country is attacked by another country, then there's swift and there's going to be some sort of repercussions to that. And I think the only reason you don't see that is, one, because it's Russia, and because we're trying to avoid any major catastrophe that could potentially happen, especially with Putin going so far as to bring up the nuclear option, which is, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. So some of the things that we're doing as a country and part of NATO is that, and these are just some of the things that that NATO is doing. The EU has promised to restrict Russian access to capital markets and cut off its industry from the latest technology. It has already imposed sanctions of those who backed Russia's recognition of the rebel-held regions. Germany has halted approval on Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, which they're definitely not going to like. And that's really what it's all about. It's all about power. It's all about money. I saw something on, it was either CNN or Fox News today, where it talked about if you watch the way Russia operates, when they start to make money, they attack. When they start to lose money, they pull back. And that's been their roller coaster ride. It's been their algorithm, if you will. And it's been very easy to follow. And the one way to attack that is to cut off their money. Don't let them get enough money to where they can feel so emboldened to start attacking countries randomly, which is basically what he does. And I never really looked at that way, but when I listened to this, I can't remember, he has a show. I'll put it in the comments below. If you know it, please pop me an email. But I never really looked at it that way. The U.S. says it will cut off Russian government from Western financial institutions and target high-ranking elites. That's, again, like I'm going to refer back to when I talked about how I think people around Putin are going to start looking at him in a different light and saying, what are we doing here? How is the rest of the country looking at us right now? And where are we going to go from here when all this is over? And I think that's going to help. The UK says all major Russian banks would have their assets frozen, with 100 individuals and entities targeted. And Russia's national airline Aeroflot will also be banned from landing in the UK. Sounds minor, but all this wrapped up in one package is going to hurt. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're already feeling it. We've already seen that their attacks on the Ukraine have slowed down. They're not as far as they would have liked to have been, I don't think. I can't imagine that he wouldn't have wanted to capture the capital of Kiev at this point and put his little puppet government in there, which I think was the plan all along, to try to maybe capture Zelensky. And who knows what would have happened then. But guess what? It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Because that country is strong. They're proud. They have a lot of resolve, and it shows. And they are not going to go down without a fight. And hopefully that's as far as it's going to go. Already, I heard Russia is sending people to, I can't remember where. It might have been Belarus. It might have been Poland. They're going to send a group of people there. And Zelensky has said that he would send people there to talk. But who knows how those talks will go. Hopefully cooler heads prevail. Let's just put it that way. So some of the countries that border Romania, right now there's roughly 4,000 to 5,000 UN troops there. Poland, around 6,000 troops. Lithuania has another 2,000 troops. Latvia has another 2,000 troops. And those numbers are just going to continue to rise until this all comes to a close. So, we talked about what Putin wants, and I really don't think that that's gonna happen. What he wants, and what's actually going to happen is a whole nother story. One of the things that I want to kind of end with, and I just wanted to get a video out. I thought it was important to talk a little bit about this. Is we need to prevent stuff from stuff like this from happening. After watching President Biden speak. I feel more needed to be done. I think what we're doing is good, but I think this should have been done months ago because we saw it coming. Anytime a bully starts beating their chest, something needs to be done. And we saw it coming. There was intelligence said be careful. What he's doing is dangerous. And we kept listening to him say, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Until about a week ago, we heard President Biden saying it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. And once you start saying that, then it's a little too late. But we still waited. Why did we wait? We saw it coming. And I don't second guess anybody. I understand it's a delicate situation, but we have to stand on our morals and our ethics and just not let stuff like this go too far. And hopefully we've learned that. I'm against war. Yes, I'm a prize service. I spent 22 years in the Army, and I did all kinds of different jobs for 13 years. I was an infantry guy, jumping out of planes, doing all that fun stuff. But I am anti-war. I don't want war with anybody. I don't think anybody does, But we're a pretty powerful country, and we pack a big punch. And I can honestly say that when we stand up and help others, it speaks volumes. The world needs leaders. It's time to lead. I'm not saying we have to take the head role, But I think people look towards the United States. They look towards the United States and say, we need your help. We need your leadership. And we've come, I think too many people look at things on a world stage and say, well, I don't want to get involved with that. I don't want to get involved with that. Well, you can say that too many times and you're going to get involved with it. And it's usually not going to be good because you've ignored it for too long. I've told this story to friends before, and I think I even told it to my class. I used to be a bully back in 5th grade. His name was Lee. I'm not going to mention his last name. But when I was in 5th grade, I was a pretty small kid. Not that I'm a big guy now, but I was a pretty small kid. I was athletic, but I was still small. And this guy was big. He probably was a good foot taller than I was. I think he might have stayed back, but he'd punch me in the stomach at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm not talking about a little punch. He'd punch me. And I had a pretty bad temper. And one day I just kind of snapped and I hit him in the bad spot. And the teacher, I think the teacher almost kind of knew it was happening, but again, she ignored it. And finally, little Ukraine, Skip Bessie, got a little upset. And I never had a problem with him after that. And that might have been because I fought back. It might have been because the teacher got involved. But we need to not ignore the warning signs. And I think we ignored the warning signs for way too long. Last thing I want to talk about is prayer. I think, I am a Christian man, and, I read the Bible, the best-selling book ever, and I'm pretty versed in it. I'm not a good memorization guy. I have a hard time memorizing those verses and being able to spit them out to you. But I can tell you this, this is a scary time. And I can honestly say what I read in that book tells me that it's not going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse. Now, that doesn't mean we throw our hands up, but we need to pray. We need to pray for those countries. We need to pray for everybody involved. We need to pray for our leaders. We need to pray for President Biden, his administration. We need to pray for the leaders of Germany and Poland. And we need to pray for Russia. We need to pray for Putin. They all need it. They all need some guidance, and they all need some prayer. And these are unprecedented times we're living in. A friend of mine said, I'm getting sick and tired of living through history. Well, if you think about all the stuff that's happened over the last, 30, 40 years, a lot of that stuff is very, very historical, and history books are going to be written about it. And the things, I could go on and on about stuff that has happened in my lifetime that are unprecedented. And some of them are very, very good. There's a lot of good things that have happened in the last 30, 40, 50 years. But there's a lot of bad. And I don't think, I saw something the other day. Of course, I think all of us would agree that gas prices are going back up. And I think we'll see what happens. But I think gas prices are going to continue to go back up unless we as a country do something about that, which I don't know if we'll do. But I saw a poll that was done. Do you blame the current administration from the price of gas? 63% said yes. 33% said no. I want to sit down with those 33% and say, well, why do you think that is? Why do you think gas prices are going up? I just want to hear maybe I'm looking at it differently than they were. I would love, and I think out of that 33%, at least half of them, if not more, would refuse that meeting, that they wouldn't want to actually do that, because I just don't get it. We need to make some changes here in this country, because this country needs to lead. It needs to lead. We've always led, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying we got to go police everybody's issues, but we need to lead. So please pray. Please pray for the country and everybody that's involved here. Please pray for the people of Ukraine. There's a lot of probably injured, displaced people that need our prayer. So please pray for those people. So thank you. That's all I'm gonna talk about today. And thank you for watching. Please share this. Please like it. Again, I'm going to turn this into a podcast right now. I'm going to be posting to YouTube. I'm very excited about where this channel is going to go. Again, I'm looking for a co-host. I'm going to be experimenting with some online platforms. A platform called Riverside FM and StreamYard. What I'm going to be using right now. I'm just recording on my computer. I'll be editing it and then putting it on to Facebook, and then taking the audio off and putting it on to to a podcast, but I'm looking for a co-host. You don't have to come to my house. We can actually do it remotely and have it look very, very professional. I'm very excited about it. And again, it's not going to be all politics. It's not all going to be all doom and gloom. Hopefully there's going to be some humor involved. I'm going to get out and do some remote stuff. So hopefully this is going to go places. Like it, share it, get on your social media sites and share it with your friends. And again, any questions, any comments, any suggestions, thecommonman1776 at gmail.com, thecommonman1776 at gmail.com. Thank you very much.